Our next speaker is Coote. She currently works as a web editor. She likes staying in and going out. Lives in Southsea, where a good Mr. Whippy is hard to find. Please welcome Coote.
Hello. This might not be the talk that you're expecting to hear, and it's not really the talk that I was expecting to give. But have you noticed that you don't hear this as much anymore? When I first decided to do this talk, I thought it might be a technical talk, all about the different chimes that are available and where you order them from, and with some clips of some hilarious chimes. And I researched that, and if you are interested in that, there's a website that's got loads of samples, and you can play them at your leisure. I'll tweet the link for you. It's also going to be an exhaustive talk about types of van, or types of ice cream machine, or types of ice cream. But I've got some photos, and I'll tell you a bit about that. What I want to talk about are my experiences as part of the ice cream world, and how it seems like it was a part of history, a period of time that might be dying out. And those chimes that are so entangled in our summertime memories might become a noise that our children won't recognise. I also just want to tell you about the best job I ever had. I was an ice cream van driver for 2 summers, 1999 and 2000, and one particularly wet Easter in between. I worked for Tony Fresco Ice Cream, based in a yard near Guildford, and run by the imposing and exacting Joe. He doesn't look imposing and exacting there, but let me tell you, that guy was terrifying. The top 5 qualities that you need to be an ice cream van driver. There's me in an ice cream van. First of all, you need to have a strong bladder. At a busy festival, it's impossible to get out of the van. One of my biggest mistakes and greatest triumphs was drinking 2 pints of soda water before a stint at the Hazelmere Carnival in 2000. I couldn't leave the van all day because it was so busy and had to do the whole shift on a full bladder. You've got to have strong mental arithmetic skills. The prices, it's trade secret here, they're all rounded up, so you've never got a 5p or a 2p, it's all 80p, 90p for ease of addition. But you've still got to be able to add up on the hop. I worked with a girl who thought she could use her Nokia to add up the ice cream prices as she went. You get so busy, it's completely impossible. And she was serving somebody an ice cream cone that cost 80p, and he gave her a £10 note, and in her panic, she said, "Oh, how much change do I give him?" I said £9.20, and she thought I said £5.20 and tried to give him that. So you need to have a bit of common sense as well. That's just me moaning about a girl I worked with for 2 days 14 years ago. But she was an idiot. You've got to have commitment, because you work early till late every weekend when it's sunny, and every evening as well. You'll have absolutely no social life whatsoever. Just forget it. But you do make quite a lot of money, so there's that. You've got to have really big hands. These don't look particularly big, but at the height of my powers, I could do 8.99s in one hand. And you've got to be able to drive and not crash too often either, because if you do crash, you get really told off, and you have to drive the oldest van in the yard, which might be something like this. This is a Bedford van, and it's gorgeous, and I actually really quite enjoyed it, so it wasn't a punishment, so joke's on you, Joe. But it's an example of an early Whitby Morrison coach-built van. Now, all ice cream vans are coach-built, which means that they're fitted after production with the ice cream equipment. And these were the go-to ice cream vans up until 1962, when a guy called Brian Whitby from the company Whitby Morrison invented a direct drive system for the Whippy machine. This meant that they could then power the Whippy machine using the van's engine, whereas before that they were powering it using a generator at the back of the van, which was very heavy. Once this was created, that led on to people using Ford Transits as the van, because they're a lighter van, they're easier to drive, but they're not as cute. That was what I drove most of the time. And this is the new Mercedes Sprinter. You can't see much of it, but it's just an ice cream van. This is a 2013, and Mercedes Sprinters are the van of choice now. They're very trendy in the ice cream world, and Joe's very proud of that one. This has got nothing to do with my talk, really, but isn't it cute? It's a Fiat 900e, and you can find that on Braden Downs on the Isle of Wight. I don't think it even sells Whippy, but I just love that photo. Okay, what next? Chimes. These are your ice cream van chimes, and this is what I used. They don't use them anymore, they've got much more modern, as you'll see in the next photo. But that little switch up there, that's a winder. So you'd wind that up like a pull back and go car. And it would run and run and run, and then it would wind down and you wind up again. And it was quite easy to overwind them, so you used to have to take an extra winder with you. Now the new chimes, get ready for this, oh woo. As you can see there's a little switch, so you don't need the winder anymore. There's another example there. So they've got very modern, as you can tell. And those are electrically driven and button operated. The even newer ones have just got a button on the dashboard, but that's only in the 2013 one. The most popular chime is O Sole Mio, kind of obviously, and they play through a speaker underneath the front wheel arch. Okay, this is a whipping machine. That's 12 grand brand new, pretty expensive bit of kit. That's the inside of the machine. That's one of them. That long sort of straw thing, that's the air. That's the most important bit of your ice cream machine, because that controls the air going into the machine. And you've got to have a good air to mix ratio, otherwise you're just not worth your game, really. Some more cogs. I mean, you have to be able to take it apart and put it back together every couple of days, so I was quite proud of being able to do that. Wouldn't be able to do it now, but yeah. This is how to tell if your ice cream van driver is a pro, and I want you to check this because not very many people do this. This is a Tony Fresco secret. This is a box of flakes, and if you open it up from the top, you can get your hands stuck in the little plastic bits that the flakes are in. But if you open it up from the bottom, like so, you can remove the tray, like so, and you can get to all your flakes really quickly and easily. So time is money in the ice cream business. Okay, and there's me with an amazing ice cream. It's not very good, actually, but that was my third go after 14 years, so let me off. Joe said it would pass, so it's all right. Things only an ice cream van driver knows. How long you can play your chimes for. When I was a driver, you could only play them for 4-second bursts. You couldn't play them near schools or playgrounds, and you couldn't play them when you were stationary. They've recently, I think it was last year, changed the legislation so that now you can play them for 12 seconds. That hasn't really made a big difference to the ice cream world, but I will come back to that in a minute. Which factories and offices will chase you away? Never go to the Colgate Towers in Guildford. They hate ice cream people. They're very mean. And which will welcome you in? Garages. If you go to garages around about lunchtime, you go to schools at closing time, chucking out time. Those are the times when you're going to make your money. How to amuse yourself when it's raining. I mean, this was before the internet, really. No one had smartphones. I read the whole of Catch-22 in about 2 or 3 days. I used to text all my friends, and I used to send out ice cream-based observations. Women are always more likely to get small, and men are more likely to get a large or a fat boy, which is the biggest one that you do. It's just true. People like to buy ice cream for their dogs. Which I didn't know. I'm not a dog person, so I didn't know that people did that. People love mint cornettos as well, which is my least favourite, so I don't understand that either. A cider lolly broken into small pieces can make an excellent snack when you don't have your hands free. And we know, and this is kind of cool, we know how to unlock those bollards at the front of supermarket forecourts. We've got that key. There's a special key. You can't have it, but we have it. How to reverse park anywhere, a skill I've sadly lost completely now, but at the time I could park anywhere and sell some ice cream. And every situation is an ice cream opportunity. I worked with a guy that was driving around a council estate and there was a car crash. Nobody died, everything was fine, but he pulled up and started selling ice cream to the ambulance and the police. A 99 is not 99p. It never will be, it never has been. Nobody knows why it's a 99. It's just, there are myths abound on the internet, and you can do a bit of research if you want, but nobody actually knows. But most people don't sell proper ice cream. Most people are doing it wrong. If you go to Pizza Hut or McDonald's or any of those places where you can get your own, you'll probably get something like this. And this picture makes me really angry. This picture's... Oh yeah, I forget that's not normal. This will make any ice cream seller really angry. This is on the Wikipedia page for ice creams, and It couldn't be a more inaccurate photo. Look at the droop on that. That's terrible. That's terrible. We call that in the trade brewer's droop, and it just shouldn't happen. If you've got the right amount of air, so if you've used your little straw thing from the earlier picture, and you've adjusted your airflow, then it should be standing stark upright. You should be able to dunk it in something, chocolate or something like that. It should be fine. So that's a terrible photo. That's a better one. Where was I? Okay, yeah, most money that I ever took in one day was over £1,000 at Guildford Cricket Festival. Those guys like their ice cream. Sold everything in the van, had to shut up shop in the end. Being chased after by lovely men with boaters. And the worst gig was sitting in the rain for 2 weeks outside Farnborough Asda for that rainy Easter. The worst thing about that is that every now and then someone will try and buy a pity cone. I think, oh, that poor gal, go and buy an ice cream from there. But you've been sitting there for so long then that the ice cream's defrosted, so you have to freeze it up again, which can take 10 minutes. So they'll just be stood there watching you while you're like, any time now? It's pretty embarrassing. The best thing about doing this talk was getting to go back and visit Joe, terrifying Joe from earlier. And he really was. When I was 19, if you cut a corner, he would find out. He was the most exacting boss I've ever had. And when I rang him up, he told me how to drive to the yard, what time to set off to get there on time. I mean, he's that kind of a guy. So I rang him up and I said, hello, I used to work for you in the 90s, and not sure who that was more depressing for, but I think him. And he was really, really pleased to have me back up. He played me the chimes, he showed me the vans, and we were chatting about how there's something about the job that makes people remember it. Somebody recently got married and they mentioned it in their wedding speech. I mean, it's the sort of job you talk about. It's like Fight Club, if the first rule of Fight Club was never stop banging on about Fight Club. When I was at the yard, I got chatting to one of the guys that works there, and he actually emailed me afterwards and sent me his thoughts on the current ice cream scene. And this is where it gets serious. There is a current ice cream scene, and there are thoughts about it. People write articles. Joe currently has 21 ice cream vans in his yard. When I worked for him, he had 30. And he told me that he employed 100 people last summer. So he's a big employer, mostly students, but some people come from abroad to work summer. It's a lucrative job if you can do it. The recently announced changes for the jingles, so they can play them for 12 seconds now, hasn't really made any difference to the decline of the ice cream van. The Ice Cream Association have reported that there's been a sharp decline from 22,000 working vans to approximately 5,000 at the moment on the road. Well, this could be because of the cost. Setting up a van can cost up to £70,000. You need to have storage facilities, and you need to plug them in overnight, so that's another factor that you need. It's difficult to establish around as well, because ice cream van drivers are notoriously territorial. If you work with some of the older ice cream van drivers, they love to tell you the stories. I was working with a guy who told me that they used to, if they saw another ice cream van, they used to lean out the window and try and punch them as they drove past. It's kind of brutal. Also, they have to run the vans all day, so fuel is also a huge factor, I would say now, much more than it was in the 90s. And supermarkets, you can get like a packet of Magnums from Asda for cheap. I mean, there's no competition really. You don't get service with a smile though. So that's it really. I hope that the talk has given you a peek behind the scenes of the ice cream van industry, and I urge you to support your local ice cream van and be nice to the person selling you ice cream. They're working very hard and they probably need a wee. We don't want to lose the sound of our summer.